All right, what is up, everybody? Adrian M. Gibson here with a wonderful crew of friends to celebrate the launch of my debut novel, Mushroom Blues.
Also, I love that you're introducing yourself like we're all here to party for you.
I was
I'm going to say my name. I'm not going to go into any more detail, but like whatever,
okay.
fuck it.
All right.
So I will let you all introduce yourselves, starting with Krystle.
My name is Krystle. I am Adrian's, I guess, number 2 biggest fan. I'll let MJ take number 1.
But you're my emotional support possum. So.
Yeah, emotional support possum. I was super honored to be like in the background helping out with early reading on Mushroom Blues. And like the last chunk of it made me so emotional that I was like in a coffee shop crying very quietly.
It was your choice to be in public.
I made this decision, Krystle.
I didn't see it coming because like I was intellectually invested in the first half, but then the emotional investment just took me by surprise. So yeah, that's why I'm here, I think.
Support possum.
Yeah, I didn't bring my possum that day.
You didn't.
They don't allow them at coffee shops.
No.
If you're sneaky enough, they would.
That's true.
Yeah, I gotta like get some carry-on situation.
Oh
there you go.
You be like those people that carry their dogs around. Yeah, like a purse possum.
You have a purse possum.
Not friendly.
Oh, not friendly at all. All right, Ronnie.
Hey, I'm Virdi. I am also, I guess, an emotional support possum, but I ended up being sentient potato lord. And yeah, just here to help cheer you on, man, for your very happy book birthday, Mushroom Blues.
Oh, thank you, buddy. I'm very happy that you're here. And anyone who doesn't know Ronnie, he's the author of First Binding and Grave Report series, a bunch of stuff. Fantastic fucking author. So just giving him some props when he doesn't want to. Last up is the amazing MJ Kuhn, the Chewie to my Han Solo. How are you?
Right. My co-pilot. Hi, I'm Adrian's number 1 fan, and I am currently the only human on planet Earth that has physical copies.
That's true. Blues. That's true. Because I live in the boonies of South America.
Yeah, Adrian lives in Ecuador, so he had the sample copies sent to me, and then I just FaceTimed him last night when I got them and looked at them with him.
I really appreciate it.
It was so. Are you kidding me? It was like my dream life.
I love how you said the boonies of South America. That conjures so much imagery. Like what?
But yes, I'm here to celebrate Adrian's book birthday for his firstborn book baby.
I appreciate it. Go ahead and show that off. I'm gonna make you full screen.
Dude, I'm gonna just like stand like this the whole time.
No, not that one.
That's you.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. MJ, talk.
Just everyone bask in the glory of.
No, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to make you big. It's fine.
It's okay.
I can also throw it up on screen because I
just like tape it to my forehead.
Yeah. So
there we go. That works.
Ooh, there's that sexy blue cover by Felix Ortiz, my man over in Massachusetts. Gorgeous. But yeah, I'm just very happy to have you all with me to just hang out and talk about the book and have all these people in the chat. You can throw your questions in and we'll just like answer them as we go along. Someone said drag MJ to your spot and then switch. Do you want to come to Ecuador and I'll go to Detroit? Because I really don't want to.
I was gonna say it was snowing here yesterday. You want to come to Detroit?
You sent me a picture of like a fucking blizzard. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So here you go. This is what it's like in my neck of the woods.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm okay. Whoever the Facebook user is that sent that, because Facebook doesn't have specifics about names. But
yeah.
Or
that's just their name. And
they're just Facebook user.
Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
They were the original Facebook.
I'm very sorry if that's your name. Yeah, we got some friends up in the chat. My buddy Liam, on a scale of 1 to 441 page, how many pages does Mushroom Blues have? It depends which edition you're reading. The Kindle I think came out to 440, but the not including
this one has 371.
Not including like the title pages and glossary and stuff. It's 371 in the paperback and I think 350 in the hardcover. So
what's the word count?
It's about like 108,000.
So here's a trick I learned from indie publishing, which does translate back to traditional too. If a book is 6x9, which is what the average trade paperback is now, every 30,000 words is 100 pages. so that you can start dividing based off that, which is why you're about 371.
Yeah, but I didn't go 6x9 because I kind of hate that size of book.
Oh, are you 5 by 8 or whatever?
I'm 5.25 by 8.
What? This whole thing is going to turn into an argument about that size now.
No, but I love the size. It's like perfect. I have small hands. Don't bug me.
As a fellow small hander, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Ronnie and Joseph, I are here representing the chonk, though, so like it's a fair split.
Yeah. Krystle with her manly farm hands.
Farm hands.
Oh my God. Jonathan's up in here. Hi, Jonathan. How are you, buddy? You got Luke from Luke's Book Nook. Yeah, I'm just very, very excited for everyone to be here. Joseph is a fan of 5x8.
Well, you got
MJ. Can you show your mug again? Which mug do you have? Oh yeah.
This is
Beautiful.
Gondor.
Oh man. All right. Well, I just want to start off and just say thank you to everyone who's out there watching, everyone who has supported the book launch today. It has been ridiculously awesome, and I've been microdosing a lot lately, and so I've kind of as I would. I've kind of I've kind of become familiar with like the ways in which these sensations like affect my body. And today has been one of the most natural highs that I've ever had. Other than like my kids being born, I think this is probably the only thing that's been able to match that. Yeah.
I can confirm, actually, having also done both, it's like
having given birth, Krystle, not only just like being the man present.
Having had children and also having made 2 books, it's like, I think books is harder. I don't know,
man.
I mean, the actual making part, I would agree.
Yeah. It takes a lot longer too.
Just
to make
saying.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's like the climax is just very delayed. It's very delayed. It's pretty ridiculous.
Okay.
It's after dark, babies. We got no rules here.
Yeah, Ronnie, what did you expect from a launch party with us? Oh man! All right, we got Bo up in here. Hello, Bo. I'm here for the smolder and the blues. That Ronnie Virdi smolder.
I don't.
We're very slowly pivoting away from Adrian's book and just towards making Ronnie blush for the next hour.
He looks good when he blushes.
We can ping pong back and forth.
Yeah, I guess so.
We can do all of the above.
We can do it all. But yeah, I'm just very, very grateful to everyone out there. I had no idea. Mushroom Blues in particular was like a project that started a year ago, a little over a year ago, about 13 months ago. In February of last year, I decided like the project that I was working on was just like destroying my brain, which I will redestroy my brain as I turn it into my next novel.
Right?
Spore City.
But here's the thing, now that you've taken a break from it and stepped back, you're gonna come back to Spore City. And you're gonna be like, oh shit, I see the path. It's crazy how that happens. But
I was looking through like, because I have, whenever I do beta, I have like, so I'll do like an assigned folder on my computer so I can always find your stuff again. Like if you ever lose it, I've got it, you know?
Yeah. Thank you, Krystle. You're my backup. You're not only my emotional support possum, you're my emotional support hard drive.
I can't help it. I can't delete anything, even other people's work. I can't do it. But so I was going through and I was like trying to find a place I was trying to find it to save your stuff. And then I was like, wow, Spore City was 2022 now, and it's like, wow, it's kind of cool like to have seen where you started, and that project was also really good. I was super invested in it. So I think I only
sent you I only send you the prologue or like the first chapters?
There was a couple chapters because there were a couple of point of view characters that I remember. So
I probably sent you like the first POVs of each character, like the first POV
chapters. and I was ready, like I was so invested. But it's just such a neat thing to see. And it's so relatable, I think, for a lot of us, where it's like, we think we know where we're going to start and what journey we're going to take. And then we go for it. And your brain's like, no, actually, I've got this other idea.
Well, that's the thing about like writing being like half art, half business, right? Like when your business mind wants to take over and be like, this is how I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like get my foot in the door. The art side is sometimes like, oh, honey, no, it's not.
Like, no, we're not going to focus on that for the next 5 years. I feel like that lack of focus is like a symptom of kind of knowing we're not ready to tell that story yet, in a way.
100%.
Just because, I don't know, I think in some sense we have an awareness of like how hard something's gonna be. And if
even from like a conceptual level and then into an outline, and every stage of it, you kind of like recalibrate how what you had just achieved and how difficult the path ahead is. Because like MJ and I were talking about this on SFF Addicts about how Mushroom Blue started out as a novella. And this is like where my brain was at the time.
I knew that didn't
look at this novella.
Yeah, look at that fucking novella. That little
so short.
that little petite blue. But it started out as a novella, and it was going to be like a very, you know, from like the Ryan Cahill school of marketing, like newsletter giveaway freebie kind of thing. And then when I was in this point of frustration with Spore City, you know, it's like finish first draft and it's like a mess, and then like revision was the thing that really just kicked me in the ass, and I didn't know how to do it. And then I was like, okay, I need to just write something else. I need to get my mind off in a different direction, but in the same world. And so Mushroom Blues is like, cool, this is going to be a little prequel novella to give people a sense of what the world's about.
That's where I got the idea. You gaslit me. You're like, I don't know where you got that from. I never told you that. You liar.
You gaslit me.
No, but like, at which point did you stop remembering that it wasn't a novella anymore?
No.
Maybe I gaslit really you up until a point. But
yeah. Somewhere around page 200, Krystle was like,
Crystal's like, I'm so excited for the final act. And I'm like, you're like halfway, girl.
He kept sending it to me like in little chunks. So like I don't think it was registering how much I'd read, because it was just
I gave it to you in quarters.
No, because it was in like 100-page chunks. That's how I got it in the chunks too. I feel you.
Yeah. And then, and then
so
like
each time I was reading a novella.
You finished like chapter 20. And you're like, I'm so excited. And I'm just like,
for the last act.
There's more. There's more.
Right. He's like, oh, well, you don't care about the next one?
Right. Exactly. But the crazy thing is like, I had made an outline for that novella. And then I read through the outline and realized how like fucking naive I was. That I wrote this outline for this novella, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like 14 chapters.
It's gonna be so easy.
It's gonna be no, but then I read through it, and I'm like, each of these 14 chapters can be divided up like multiple times, because that is not like how a fucking chapter works. Exactly.
I feel like that's just the evil of outlining, though. Speaking as the resident super ill mentally,
spreadsheet girl.
Yeah, like it's always like that though, where it's like you start out and you're like, oh, this is how it's gonna go, and then you actually get into it and you're like, oh, nope.
I was watching that interview you did with Kareem, and he was like, I can make you a spreadsheet like that if you want. I'm like, no, leave me alone.
Is that not like the most sexy thing MJ's ever heard? A man just being like, I'll make you a spreadsheet.
I'll make you a spreadsheet. He's speaking my language. Weird way to propose, but okay.
Okay. A spreadsheet for our wedding? Yes, please. Ronnie, have you ever had that like kind of disjointed like thing where you realize like, okay, this story is not what I set it out to be, and it's going to be like way longer? Because you've been like, I've been reading a lot of your stuff that hasn't been released yet, and it's like short stories and novellas, and then you have like First Binding, which is like almost 3 of my book.
I've been really fortunate to be able to publish across word lengths, but a lot of my projects have changed conceptually. God, there was one that started off that was supposed to be a short story for an urban fantasy charity anthology, and it turned into a short novella, like 20K, not like 30, 40. I've been trying to turn that into a series. Like the first one's done, it's got a cover. And then what I was supposed to do for Grimdark magazine in an issue coming out was a 4K short story. But there was some cool news behind the scenes I've told you about. It's not public. So the story was growing, and I was like, I could do more with this. And it's a special edition that they're doing. I wanted to give them a special story, and it's a 15K novelette instead that can be expanded to be a series. And what am I allowed to say? Crap. I guess I could say that.
Mysterious things are happening.
Beth Tabler, where are you at? Adrian Collins, where are you at?
Like,
yeah. All great news, but I guess the other 11,000 words are free. I'm doing that like just for Grimdark as like to thank them for what they're doing with this edition, because it's going to be really, really cool. They're actually doing a favor for the community. So that was one of those where it worked out, where the story was going to be larger, and there was a way to go like, hey, I won't take payment for this. Just let me do the larger story, and it'll be better for everybody.
Yeah. But can I ask you, like, this has always made me so curious. It's hard enough to write like a less than 400-page book. Krystle, you too, because you wrote a fucking fatty as well. You guys in your chonky book.
I have two 10,000-word stories and a 300-word flash that are published. So I can. But I do both. I just don't.
I wanted to ask though, like, how do you approach writing a book so big, though? Because for me, that's like daunting. Because Mushroom Blues was like so, like readily accessible in my brain in terms of everything that happens. You know, it's like an MJ spreadsheet in my head, but I couldn't imagine doing that with like an 800-page book.
Sorry, go ahead, Ronnie. I've been talking a lot already.
No, it's fine.
Okay. For Brightwash specifically, it started out much shorter, in that similar way where I was like really naive about how much needed to be said about things that happening. Like really large important scenes were like a couple of lines, and then we're like, and we're moving past that now and moving on to this other interesting thing that I want to talk about. And so in beta, it was like, no, wait, hang on, we actually need this context, and we need that too. And so Brightwash started out at about 100K.
Okay.
But it was so sparse that it was almost like it was on the cusp between a really detailed outline and a draft, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because like really
what was the most sparse part about it? Was it like the characters, or was it the plot, or world building, or what kind of aspect?
All of the above. I think the characters were the most fleshed out, because they're recycled characters for me, so they were the easiest to approach. But like things would happen and people would be like, hey, that's kind of traumatizing. How did everybody feel about this? And I'm like, God, I should figure that out, shouldn't I? And so as I went through these layers of like, okay, well, how does the magic work and how is the government set up? Then it just kind of naturally added. And that's how we got to slightly more than 100,000 words.
What was the final count? It was like it was like over 250.
Yeah,
right?
It was two.
I think it's got to be over 200.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 220.
She hurt my wrists as I was reading it.
MJ, you listened to first binding in audio though, so
I did listen to first binding on audio because they hurt my wrists. We were talking about this, Adrian. I have small hands.
Yeah, no, we both do.
You need the farm training.
What are we gonna do?
I need the farm hands.
Yeah, I need to go. Like my father-in-law has a family farm, so I need to go out there for a few months.
There you go.
Work the land.
And your hands will
grow
naturally
some mandarins and avocados.
How that happens.
With every avocado that I pluck from the tree, my hands get bigger. That's how it works.
It's just science, you guys.
You
heard it first here.
Yeah.
Ronnie, what about you with the first binding? Because this is like, I'm really genuinely curious because I do want to write longer books in the future. Because I have, like, I've told Ronnie about one series that I want to do, and maybe even like co-write with him. But it's like, it's very big, sort of like maritime fantasy, and I cannot see it being anything slim. Like I can't.
I told you about one of mine about the same size. So first, when I approached first binding, I knew what kind of story it was going to be, and it's for craft nerds out there. It's a collection of different formats. One is a picaresque, which comes from the Spanish word picario, which like Don Quixote is one, and it's the wandering adventures, kind of a roguish hero. Theoretically, you don't have to have the same structural beats as other stories. It could just be you have a fun rogue going on an adventure, right? Like classic adventure fiction. It's also what's known as a Bildungsroman, which is a German structure and idea of a young man like going out in the world and being educated, which is why there's philosophy. You have different arcs of Ari growing up in his life. It's also framed narrative, which is why there's the past and present stories inside of each other. And then I have the nesting stories. Once I knew that was what I wanted to tackle, I had to tackle the broader aspects of the story. And I'm a pantser. I don't outline traditionally the same way most people do.
Dude, you pants the first binding?
Yeah, but I could do, but I have to be honest though, I can also do that in my head because I have a history of I was very fortunate to be mentored by certain authors and stuff at different points in my career, even though I was indie. And I've internalized a lot of that structure. It's not like I don't have one. I just don't need to write it down and have that started.
Right. It's like the scene sequel thing that Jim Butcher was talking to us about.
And I usually start with the hook. And I taught this, which that thread popped off in the wake of AI, but how to write what's called a spook, which is you can boil your entire novel down to 2 sentences that for people who want to go traditional, you can also sell a novel off of that pitch. And it's like situation, protagonist, objective, obstacles or opponents, and then the climax. So I already knew what I wanted to accomplish in these minor beats. And then stretching it out over the larger story, I essentially created different acts for the present story and the past that I knew would have minier acts inside them of emotional beats. So the first binding is written actually closer to a romance in many ways than a traditional fantasy novel because there's a lot more emotional cathartic climaxes than traditional access climaxes. But as long as you know what your catharsis point in a novel is, regardless of length, and you build everything to hit it, the novel will still pay off. So psychologically, this was intentional, but there's a line somewhere in the first binding where Ari tells the readers and Eloine, who he's narrating this to, that he knew what he wanted, that he wanted to follow in the footsteps of Brahm. He wanted to chase these legends, become a legend himself, and summon fire or bind fire. The emotional catharsis to that is the very end when he actually summons fire or binds it legitimately at school through all the trials and tribulations. So psychologically,
and it's an emotional climax as opposed to some
climax, and it's set up the entire way. And then there's a false physical climax earlier when he drops the mountain of Ampur on the snake, but he pays it off in building his legends, going like, "Oh, I totally did that, even though it was an avalanche," and he takes credit for it. But that builds up other psychological myths. If you go back, there were certain things building up of how his legends in the present have been presented. Each one of those is actually an emotional and psychological art to the reader, even if they're not aware of that. It's been seeded into them when they're reading it. So when you tackle a book that big, I thought if I had little mini payoffs that would also lead to a bigger payoff through different points, they're consistently getting a little dopamine hit. The story is progressing some aspect of what I've promised them. Because most of fiction is a promise. And it's when I teach classes, what I teach is that prologues aren't just prologues, they're a promise. Whatever you tell them in the prologue, that's what you're promising them. So Wheel of Time is a great example where it starts with the conclusion of the battle between the Dark One and Luz Theron Kinslayer, the dragon. And the ending of that is him telling him that we're going to do this again and again until one of us wins. The Dark One believes evil's going to win, and the prompt this is that the dragon's going to be reborn at some point. And then we immediately cut into Randall Thor living his boring farm life and being a boring farm boy, kind of spooked, just being a teenager.
But in the back of your head, you always have that promise to guide you.
Somehow this is going to lead to the greatest battle of light versus dark. And I actually did that with Tales of Tremaine also. My opening hook is those 3 lines where he tells you he came looking for the most important thing in the world, a story, and he ends up in the most dangerous one of all. So you know what he's looking for, and you know that whatever he ends up with in the present day is the most dangerous thing he's slowly going towards. And then the other promises are all the little emotional arcs of him telling his story, what pays off in the past and what he's doing in the present. That's one way. If you ever tackle it through multiple POV and you watch things like Game of Thrones, you notice that those have character arc catharsises. Every character in every book reaches some kind of terminal point, whether it's a big temptation, they're killed. For the fun plot,
or that,
or they keep some kind of huge determining factor of who they are. So we could tackle Jon Snow over the larger point, and I'll use the show ones because they've gone further. And they show his success in becoming Lord Commander of the Night Watch. They show his success in helping take the North back. All these things that were essentially weaknesses of his, because in the books when he first gets to Castle Black, he's actually kind of whiny. He's a lot different than in the show where he believes he is actually better than people. There are those scenes in there where he thinks he deserves more. And for him, some of his fulfilling acts is him coming into this power of stewardship, leadership. You see him grow, and then you see physical battles and victories sort of coming under him.
And it's almost more satisfying in the case of the books in that sense. Yeah, because absolutely. you see like a more distinct change, like on a personality and like emotional level.
And that's why Joffrey was allowed to go as far as he did, being a horrible character, because the build up to it was he's eventually going to get his. But until then, he actually grew in power.
Right.
We're seeing Robert's arc end very early, and his arc is told to us mostly through stories of people who loved him. So we know there's this climactic rise for Robert Baratheon. He was unparalleled in war. Everybody loved him, and we don't get to see all that. We just hear about it. We see his decline and the consequences, and Joffrey coming into power, what that's going to do, his character arc rising, and he's not changing. So we know in his case, like, everyone wants him to get it, and eventually he does. And then we see Robb get thrust into this power, where in the books he's described as he's usually better than Jon, at least in Jon's mind. He thought Robb was the better brother. He was smarter, handsomer. Girls loved him. He is the heir to Winterfell. Mm-hmm. And him slowly coming into power, winning, being the young wolf. And he didn't heed other people's advice, though. Like, he didn't listen. Like, we could talk about he followed his heart and did other things, but he was arrogant. In the world he lived in, he did get prudent advice of how to deal with other parts of the war, who to marry, and he ignored that. And then his character arc just ended, but in a really great way that did enrapture fans. So if you do multiple POV, that would be one of the ways to tackle that scale, is ensuring every character has some kind of arc that in some way throughout books is reaching some kind of peak or terminal point. Because readers are going to be invested at least in some of those characters. Not every character is going to resonate with every reader, but some readers will pick some characters, right? That's just an inevitability. Someone will stick out, and making sure they're at least accomplishing or reaching some point that has a catharsis or like a terminal point with Martin. I just can't think of any others off the top of my head who are that glib and quick to kill characters off.
Right.
No, but it's like it makes sense, because like I was thinking of spreadsheets the whole time that you were kind of describing like multiple POVs. I'm like, man, mapping that out.
Brought you to the dark side.
I know.
And you can pants it though.
Yeah, but you can't pants. And the thing is, like with Mushroom Blues, I did so many of these things kind of like unconsciously, and I think that's one of the coolest aspects of being a reader, like a lifelong reader, and then kind of like internalizing so much of the story structure and beats and character arcs and frameworks and stuff like that.
I find it's a big difference. Like we were talking about, like, you know, your Mushroom Blues was really sparse, and Brightwash, for the size of it, was also really sparse. But then with the second book, with Brick and Bone, my experience was a lot more like what Ronnie's talking about knowing what contracts I'm promising, and also like having a really firm idea of where, okay, so I got this inciting incident out of the way, and now I know exactly where the series is going. And so
book twos are so much nicer in that way.
But also harder, because it took me a little bit of floundering to kind of figure out what my genres were, but that's a whole other story.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But so then with Brick and Bone, like, it's much bigger than Brightwash, again, but for Brick and Bone, I had a very clear vision of the specific character arcs for seven storylines. And somebody pointed out, and it meant so much to me when they pointed it out and saw me for what I did, where if you pick that book apart, each one point of view thread is its own complete story. And that's kind of why it ended up so long, but also
it's 7 books.
Why 7 POVs.
It is, yeah. And like, but it's also kind of why, like, it's why it's so long, but also like it was easier to track because it wasn't 350 books. It was 7 stories that were happening concurrently. And so then it's like, you know, you track Lorne to the boxing match that's on the cover. Like, that was a big moment politically and for the character growth, and kind of like how that going not well splinters out through the rest of everybody's really bad choices. And so the length becomes, you know, a pain in the ass as India, where we got to pay our editors, but it's not as, if it needs to be that big, it's not as much of a, you don't feel it as much as you think you would. Like when you're thinking about
when you're in trad and you have more pressure based on like specifically like printing costs and ROI and stuff like that.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That's the beautiful thing about indie is that it can just be as long as it needs to be, right? You know what I mean? Like, you can just make the story as long or short, right? As it needs to be to get the story across in the, the most effective word count. How long do you think Spore City is gonna be sitting, Adrian? Where's it kind of
that one's 3 POVs, and more or less like I'll have like 15 to 20 chapters per POV. So it'll be anywhere between
for everyone in the chat that's not familiar with what Spore City is going to be about, can you like give the pitch? Because we were talking about it earlier this week, and I was like, okay, you need to write faster because I need to read this.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say hi to Andrew Watson's in here. You're over in Scotland, man. Is it not late? Thank you for being here. Thanks, buddy.
It's like 1 in the morning over there.
Connor's here, just judging Krystle as he does. It's all with love. I know Connor. Caden's here. Hi, Dr. Love. How are you, my friend?
Happy Mushroom Day.
All right, Ronnie's back. Okay, so
I was gonna say we lost to Ronnie.
We lost Ronnie.
We have a storm going on, and I think it just wonked the Wi-Fi for like 5 minutes.
Oh wow. Yeah. Oh, Ronnie, I have to show this to you real quick. This is from Bo. Every time Ronnie says he's going to write a short story, his brain says, nah, bro, hold my beer. And another chunker comes up. And then Andrew Watson said an extra 0 just appears at the end of the work.
That's what my previous agent used to think. But in my defense, I have literally published 3 4K word short stories. I've got flash fictions. I've written it every word.
I can do it.
No judgment. I can do everything. You're like Ken Liu. Oh no, like even
Ken Liu is something else. He's
no, but the Grave Report is like pretty middle ground. It's like between 300 and 400 pages. So Ronnie's got the full spread. Shut the fuck up, everybody. Stop skipping wrist day, MJ. I just had to show you as well. Yeah, but she's got a good role.
Okay, wow. Never mind.
Who we're talking about?
No, after dark.
Ronnie's making himself.
Yeah. Okay. So MJ, you asked about Spore City. So that was the first book I wrote, and that also takes place in the Fungalverse, but 30 years after, not the events of Mushroom Blues in particular, but the last book in the Hoffman Report. So it's more or less like.
Okay.
Am I remembering right that Koji is also in Spore City? Like he's the detective that
he's right here.
Met.
This is the first character. But this is him like 30 years older than he appears in Mushroom Blues.
Old grizzly Koji.
Yeah, he's like still smoking cigarettes and he's just like a shriveled mushroom of a man. But
he's the cop in the version that I met, right? Like he's the one, and like he was tired in the version.
Yeah. He's even more tired than Henrietta, to be honest.
I mean,
but he's been through some shit. Okay, so
more tired with time.
Yeah, exactly.
He's stoically tired. She's curmudgeonly tired.
True.
With her knees, though, like the amount of times she's never mentioned, I'm like, no wonder she's bitchy. Like, my God, this woman.
She's just real tired, man. She's real tired.
It hurts. Like every time she goes up the stairs or something, I'm like, oh, Henry, like, girlfriend, you need some like.
Would you want to do like, I don't know, like aerobics in a fucking mushroom city when you're mycophobic?
And your knees hurt all the time.
All the time. I have no time to stretch.
I used to joke I'm old. Now I'm worried about like, everyone else being old.
32 and my knees hurt all the time. So
I can't say so Spore City.
I was talking about the main character of the book, not me.
No, I'm aware. I'm just saying.
I'm just sympathizing. Yeah.
My knees hurt.
Everyone's falling apart after 30. Jesus.
It's just downhill from here. We're all gonna write books and our bodies will just fall apart. No, me neither.
Our brains and our typing fingers. We're good.
Just avoid carpal tunnel with all possible.
Good luck with that if you're gonna write chonkers.
Yeah. Spore City. So Spore City, it takes place 30 years late in the future, and that one is like much more delving into cyberpunk, but from a mushroom angle. So it's like very much about biotech and fungal technology and corrupt corporations and the ways in which corporations have kind of dominated the city. So there's one POV who's a human, and she's kind of like undergoing this sort of like corporate espionage that she's been like sort of a corporate agent for years. So there's kind of like the corporate espionage angle to it. Koji returns, and he's a detective, and he's fucking tired, as Krystle said. And so he's trying to solve this strange, grotesque kind of event, this death of this human being. And then there's a third character who is a half-breed tattoo artist who is working for basically he's like part of a criminal syndicate. So he's part of this, like, it's an extension of a lot of the things that are happening in Mushroom Blues, but it's like characters return from Mushroom Blues and they appear older, or there's like crossover, or there's like the children of certain people and whatnot. And so there's just a lot of interaction going on between these. And that's the start of its own trilogy, which
I
I'm
was
very,
already
very
excited
about.
the first time you talked about it, and then you said corporate espionage, and I was like, I need to read it. It sounds
One thing I wanted to ask is did you draw inspiration, and I'm probably gonna say this wrong, from the actual science of them showing that, what is it, with mycelium, that there's actually underground networks of them where they've shown that plants and others can communicate through underground.
I
would love to hear you talk about the science about
that's part of, so that's called mycorrhizal relationships. And so that is huge part of what inspired the fungal net in Mushroom Blues. And so it's kind of like the ways in which mycelium, because mushrooms are just like they're the penis. They're the penis. They're the penis of the mushroom system. They just pop up and they spread their spores and then they dry out and die.
I don't think that's how it works with human biology, but okay.
No. All these desiccated penises everywhere. Sad stuff.
How do we eat them?
I was going to look at magic mushrooms, but okay, we can start with that.
Okay, so the mycelium, which is underneath the ground, is just a very intricate system of filaments, and at the end of them, they're called hyphae. And those are like the points that go through the soil and search and explore.
They're like the little threads,
Yeah, they're the tip of the thread that are going through the earth and determining, like, is this the direction we want to go? And in the case of trees, what they'll end up doing is the mycelium will wrap around the roots of a tree. The roots of trees, rhizomes, mycelium, myco, and so mycorrhizal. That interaction is basically just a nutrient exchange, where the mycelium gives nutrients to the tree that it can't absorb from the earth, mainly nitrogen and other sort of like heavier minerals. And then the tree, what that does is it takes in carbon dioxide and breathes it out as oxygen. The trees give oxygen to the mycelial network. And if anyone didn't know, fungi actually, like humans, breathe in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. So they're more closely related to human beings than they are to plants.
Anyone who listened to our SFF Addicts today knows that.
So that system is very interconnected, and the reason that so many of the forests that we have today were able to grow to that breadth without being inundated with shit like dead animals and dead leaves and all kinds of whatever literal shit too. Because of the mushrooms being like the prime decomposer on Earth, they were able to initiate this constant cycle of decomposition and sort of like regeneration. And so that for me was like so inspirational in terms of, did Ronnie freeze?
Okay? I think so. But Adrian, the mushrooms being more similar to humans than they are to plants, was that like piece of research one of the inspirations for like the creation of the fungal people? Like, where did that thought come from?
No, that was directly inspired by Jeff Vandermeer.
Oh, okay, that one was the one, but like you said, instead of making them evil, it was just like, what if they're just
because it's like Jeff Vandermeer's Ambergris trilogy, which is amazing. City of Saints and Madmen, Shriek, and Finch. Finch is like also genre blended noir with fantasy, but set in this sort of seaside Victorian era sort of
whale punk,
city.
You said, right?
Whale punk is kind of like the vibe of it.
Wow.
And that one had like the humans came in and colonized the land of the fungal people. The gray caps is what they're called, and pushed them underground. But then the events of the novels is basically the gray caps like resurging and taking back what was once theirs and like recolonizing the colonized space. But they're very much hive mind kind of thing, very insidious and almost like very creepy, very creepy. So me, it's like this,
I need it.
the Fungalverse. Yeah, you need to read it. The Fungalverse and Mushroom Blues is like a direct dialogue with Jeff Vandermeer and his work, and kind of exploring, okay, if fungal people, because after I read that book, I was like fascinated by fungal people. I started drawing them and drawing tattoo designs, and then people wanted those tattoo designs. And there are literally dozens of people around the world with fungal people tattooed on their bodies because of how Jeff Vandermeer inspired me. And then that became inspiration for the Fungalverse. And my approach is like, how can I make the fungal people less of like a hive mind, have them still be interconnected sort of in like a mycelial network sort of way, but give them more individuality and more humanity, such that they're able to kind of express themselves and express their own motivations, individual of the broader society, but still have that ability to connect and have that connection form the basis for like their culture and religion and different stuff.
I really liked how that came to be in your novel, or how you expressed that. 'Cause I think it was even a couple of the comments that I left for you where it's like, you tread that line between.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Your comments are the best, because you'll literally just like, you'll type out like a GIF for me, but it's in text, and I fucking love your reactions to stuff. And you'll just be like,
or
oh,
emojis, I'll do
and then
this.
later, and then like 5 paragraphs later, oh. And then like 2 paragraphs later, oh no, you did it.
Those are the best kind of beta reader comments. I adore that.
Oh my god, dude.
Well, my whole theory is that it's like, I want you to see like
your
where my
brain
mind's
process
going. Yeah, so that you can know like that you're hitting the right beats, because it's like, if I'm
like
all
the reader's
like
live tweeting it for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, if I just leave every now and then go, actually this is wrong, then like it makes you feel like you wrote a pile of shit. But if I'm going to challenge you on something, I'd rather you know that I like everything else, so that
or even like how you got there, right? To
something,
the
exactly.
Yeah,
because it's like, if I have 6 things of like, I like this beat, I love this beat is excellent, I'm not sure about this, but this is even better, then we have a dialogue of like where that weak brick is. But if I just pointed out the weak brick, then you're like, well, my whole fucking wall is shit, and I don't want you to go through that. Like, it's such an awful feeling.
Who's this piece of shit who like writes about bricks and bones and judging mutants? Just, fuck the integrity of your wall, Krystle.
Okay, no, I'm not gonna do this. Okay, but what I was gonna say about you was that
Ronnie's
I really liked how. Hi, Ronnie.
This storm is gnarly. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay, dude. It's okay.
You'll just be in and out. We'll wave hello and goodbye as you come and go. We're good.
Yeah, we'll celebrate every time you come back, so you'll feel really.
Yeah, we'll do like a Dumbledore clap every time Ronnie comes back.
Ooh, like next time he comes back, we should all like, I don't know, start like a weird conversation so he thinks he's like missed something absolutely crazy. Oh, I've ruined it.
I was actually going to bring up earlier something fascinating. One was tied to story, literature, history, and then 2, a magic mushroom thing with that I wanted your opinion on. But first, so did you know that spice in Dune actually is specifically magic mushrooms? That Paul Stamets, the father of modern psychedelics, was actually a friend of Frank Herbert and introduced him to that.
Cool.
And during an actual trip, he saw worms breaking down dying fungus. Yeah,
and the sand dunes in basically Arrakis is inspired by like landscapes in Oregon, like these like desolate dunes that they have in Oregon as well.
And the symbiotic relationship between worms and the spice was him watching worms break down decomposing mushrooms.
Beautiful,
which is why he got that idea. Yeah, I just thought.
Which is why Dune is one of my favorite novels of all time.
Yeah, spice is just magic mushrooms, which explains all the visions. Yeah. But then the other thing I was going to ask is, so historically, people who take magic mushrooms and especially larger doses, which are like macro doses, and I think one of the terms heroic, and then there's like a god dose. Yeah. They also report that, right? Like more interconnectedness with life, with other people, nature and stuff like that. And how much of that do you think might be, I don't know, influenced by how mushrooms actually function, right? Because I mean, the drug really is them. If they have that natural interconnected network, and sharing that, do you think that's an influence of the actual thing, or is that something greater than that. I know it's turning into philosophical stuff, but
no, but I love it.
Ronnie,
That's so much of like there's so much in
mushrooms.
Mushroom Blues.
I want to pitch
Mhm,
you. I want to pitch you a gentleman named Michael Pollan who writes quite
yes,
extensively on
he's amazing.
The effect of psychedelics and therapeutic psychedelics, and in fact, he's now opened his own department
Clinic.
at Berkeley.
Oh, he opened his own department.
Yeah, there's like a whole department at
Wow.
Berkeley now where students are coming in to study the therapeutic effects of.
Is that a result of his? Is that
as a result of
his book, How to Change Your Mind?
Yeah, and This Is Your Mind on Plants as well,
dude.
And so, and like if you're curious about, I would start with This Is Your Mind on Plants because it was written more as a memoir, so it's more approachable. And if you
it's
like
very
bounce off into other stuff.
It's a very soft, less sort of like grounded in, or it is like grounded in science, but it's not bogged down by science. Yeah,
it's just very much he wrote it from the perspective of this is how I interacted with this rather than adding a lot of science. Although he had, like in the caffeine section, he had a really interesting
experience with coffee, like getting off of
a really interesting and a really interesting history of like how we as a society got so dependent on coffee. So like if you're curious about that stuff, I highly recommend him. But then also I'm going to kick it back to Adrian and let him talk about his book because he did it. Really
That's what I was going to say.
Krystle,
I wanted to talk about the fungal net.
But Krystle, thank you for that quick tangent because Michael Pollan is one of my favorite nonfiction writers. If anyone wants,
we're friends, right? Like
him and Anthony Bourdain. That's like the foundation.
And then it's like you like Bourdain and you like Michael Pollan. We have to be friends. That's it. Yeah, it's like such a specific Venn diagram for us.
No, but it's broadened now. But that was like the impetus.
But that was the start.
Also, if anyone wants a good introduction to fungi and how they work, Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake is a fantastic book. It's not that long even. It's like 300 pages, but it's very comprehensive in how it approaches the ways in which fungi work. But Ronnie, to your question, that like relationship is so integral to basically everything about this like fungal society that I created. So you were asking about like the psychedelic components, but how that kind of is almost like an endemic thing to the fungal people themselves.
I'm late, but here it is.
So there's kind of this combination. Yeah, there it is. Such a beautiful cover too.
And then this one, I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
So
sorry.
So the fungal people, it's like they themselves are fungi, and so they're symbiotically merged with them. They're symbiotically connected through this fungal network. And so like there's the ability. I needed to kind of set strictures for them in order to not create, because the fungal net is essentially like the magic system of this world. And so I had to put strictures there in order to make it not like such a soft magic system that I could basically solve any problem, especially in the case of like a murder mystery where it's like, well,
we all know.
So there are limitations there. And I actually kind of combined the fungal net with social media in a way where it's like the fungal net, each individual that exists within the fungal net has their own sort of like emotional profile, and they are able to share and emote with other fungals what they're feeling, but at the same time they can obscure their emotions and they can obscure their intentions, just like you would mute or block someone on Twitter. And so that gave me the ability to put limitations in place so that certain things couldn't be solved in this sort of like, this is this,
we all saw it.
Koji, can you just see what's up?
And
the tension just completely falls flat. So there was that aspect.
The compliment that I was trying to give you, and then Ronnie crashed, where I really liked how you were able to tread the line of like a culture and a people, but not a monolith. That I think science fiction and fantasy at times struggles with that as a concept. Where, like all of the individual characters they didn't all necessarily agree on like their own ethos and their own religion and all of those layers. And I found that to be such an interesting aspect of your novel specifically, especially with the fungal net, because in theory, like, it would have been so tempting, I'm sure, to a writer less brilliant to have slid into that, okay, and they're all connected and they're all one big giant personality.
Just a homogenous thing.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And then, but the fact that you challenged yourself and put those stopgaps there and the layers, I thought, like, it got me so invested as it played out.
Thank you. Oh, Krystle, just making me just like, it's like day after day of Krystle just saying shit that makes me like melt. It's great.
It's revenge.
Yeah, but no, that for me was super important because I needed to, like I said, like I needed to give individuality to these people, and not only like complexity to their culture and their language and their society, their religion, all these different things, but then also give complexity to them as individuals. Like Koji is a distinct character. Rio is a distinct character, and she's one of my favorites. Like, yeah, you, Krystle, you and I were talking about her. Rio, she came out of no. Ooh,
my love for Rio just made it happen.
We've added another wife to the whole situation.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Okay, yeah, we can be group wives.
Yeah,
three
and my friend,
wives to each other. Krystle,
my friend Fraser Armitage said to me, he was like, "I feel really weird right now because you've made me feel sexually aroused by Rio, and I don't know how I feel about being aroused by a fungus."
Speaking of mushroom penises.
Oh my god!
Yeah, there we go.
So, yeah, so I achieved my like non-existent goal up until the point where he mentioned it to me that people could be like sexually attracted to these fungal people.
I had a huge crush on Koji.
Yeah. So, oh, Ryan's here. Hi, Ryan. 4 beautiful people walk into a fungus.
So Adrian, Ronnie, MJ, and Ryan are in a bar. That's the joke, right? My God.
Shut up, Krystle.
Oh, Krystle.
Fucking humble possum.
I was just gonna make the same joke. I was gonna be like, so Adrian, where are your 3 beautiful people that you're with?
I already answered the question for you, MJ.
Yeah. I was just gonna drag all of us. It's fine.
Ryan, I don't appreciate this dad joke. Come on, man. I know you're better than me.
I appreciate it.
He's got his fun guy shirt on too.
Shut up, Krystle. But it was really important for me to give that individuality to all the different characters, and for them to just kind of like shine on their own as opposed to feeling like this homogenous sort of, like you said, Krystle, monolith of a culture. And so there's like, even though there is this religion that is important to them, Ionism, and that, Ronnie, is actually very much based in sort of like animistic religions and psychedelics, specifically Shinto, but also bringing in psychedelics into the whole picture, which is something I'm very excited to explore more of in future books.
Spoiler in the temple at the end. It's like, I can feel that going through the whole series.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about that.
That's something I'd also like to bring up, just because history, literature, mythology nerd, but then what you're doing with specifically psychedelics and mushrooms is that there's a lot of interesting comparative mythology about, and we've talked about this privately, psychedelic drinks that have been behind and influenced a lot of early religions, cradle of life religions, and there's connecting evidence right now that suggests, so there's an ancient drink that some people know about, mead, with the Norse and the Vikings, and then in Zoroastrian culture, it's called homa. And then in South Asian, the oldest record we have is called soma, and it was like the divine drink that gods drank, and it let them.
Ronnie, do you know? Can I just quickly interject? There is like a rice wine that is made by the Japanese people, and it's based on sake, but I changed it to somake, so it's like somake is like the rice wine that they use. They manipulate it to make like moonshine essentially, but the drink itself was originally meant to be like playing into the idea of soma, which is like the body as its distinct entity, and the ways in which the consciousness and the spirit and the soul was able to separate from the physical reality of the body itself. And to create this sort of distinction between like the spiritual realm and the physical realm really plays into like the spirituality of the fungals.
And
I really want to talk about stuff that happens, but I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah,
Adrian.
that's what I was saying. Mumble spoiler at the temple, and
I know.
like
Act
near the
3
end.
spoiler.
Yeah.
All right, Ronnie, continue.
Oh,
because I love this stuff. I adore this stuff. Yeah.
So the interesting thing that's coming to light is that there's evidence showing that magic drink actually happened to be a magic mushroom wine. The earliest record is the South Asian one, Shoma, where they're showing that like hunt, because when you make some kind of wine, you use a sugar substitute. Honey was the earliest accessed one, and we know that mead was also made with honey. And because of the Proto-Indo-European influences that spawned the Norse culture, the Greek, which they had ambrosia, South Asian, and then Zoroastrian, it does seem like magic mushroom wine played a huge influence in early ritual warrior aspects, priests, the idea of the divinity, and how when people take mushrooms today, they have encounters with like a god or a spiritual enlightenment. So there's a unifying theme throughout human history of like magic mushrooms influencing cultures and everything. And I want to know specifically because of your background and everything, how much of that also played into this.
Very
like
heavily.
Awareness, and just for the viewers and stuff.
Like the oh my god,
so
I adore this. Ronnie is so sexy when he talks psychedelics.
I thought it'd be mythology.
Ryan,
that's my whole thing.
Ryan's gotta get in on like the Zoom calls that Ronnie and I have just like on an evening, and just
Adrian,
where we just talk about
to
psychedelics.
Highlight Ryan's other dad joke that I literally joined the chat to show appreciation for.
Wait, which one?
Be a good sport.
Oh, be a good sport. Aw, thank you. That was more effort than the Fungi.
That was the good
appreciate
one.
That too.
I liked that one.
But yeah, the psychedelics, like the entire third act. So like I've described this book. Obviously, it's wrapped in this package of sort of like cyberpunk adjacent, more of like the fungalpunk kind of elements. There's murder mystery and police procedural. But at its core, this book is so much about acceptance and awakening, and the ways in which mushrooms specifically, like this whole book is a metaphor for a psychedelic trip, pretty much. Based on my own experiences and the ways in which psychedelics have played into my ability to comprehend my own consciousness and understand the intricacies of who I am and where I came from and what I want to do with my life, but how the past and the present and the future are all kind of coinciding in this ongoing conversation about me as a person. And for Henrietta, she's like, for anyone who's read the first chapters, you know how she starts out. And the book is very much about breaking her down in order to allow her that moment of awakening where she realizes everything that has led her up to that point, everything that she has defined herself by, and from there be able to move forward in a way that she's understanding and accepting of the truths that she had basically like concretized around her mind for decades, and realizing, okay, now is the time for my own truth, as opposed to the truth that was constructed for me. And so that is all directly influenced by my psychedelic experiences and the ways in which my upbringing and everything that I went through to make me me, and then coming to the point where I realized like so much of that truth that I lived with for so long isn't what I actually believe, isn't what feels genuine to me. And so Henrietta is very much like, not in every way, but this part of Henrietta's journey is very much like my experience imbued into her story.
I think also just by the nature of the plot line of it being so focused on children, I think there's a similar relationship also with parenthood, even though I don't know if that's a spoiler. Anyway, but yeah, I can't remember at what point in the book it hits that reveal. But
yeah, don't spoil that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I felt it, and I felt the echo of it, where like it was just so relatable. Where it's like beyond the story, there's an interaction of Adrian Gibson, the father, and Adrian Gibson, the storyteller, and being both at the same time makes both stronger, I think, in a way that for you specifically in that story, it invests that story with a sense of compassion and hope for a future that goes, like, it sets really long roots for the world overall that I think is going to really resonate with a lot of people.
Sets really long roots. See, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. Well, I was
But
saying,
actually,
when you were just
MJ, one sec. The initial impetus for this story, the spark, was my son being born and my fears of how the world would impose upon this like tiny little creature. And so it's like, so much of this book started because of my fears as a parent, and writing this book and being a parent at the same time, like both of them kind of like growing in conjunction along with my kids growing up at the same time, was like surreal and fucking difficult, because writing with kids is not easy, people.
It's so true. It's so painfully true.
Like, I'm so jealous every time I see our friend Andy Peliquin. He's just like doing his TikToks and shit. He's typing. It's sunny out. I'm like, I wish I could type in the sun. Fucking
you're hunched like, over in the darkness after they go to bed.
After they go to bed, like a fucking troglodyte. Just sorry, Andrew, what were you gonna say?
I feel that pain.
No, I was just gonna say, I wanted to call out Clip's comment that he dropped in, because when you were talking, I was like, oh my god, I'm sure this was intentional to what you were doing, because it's mushrooms. She's broken down by mushrooms. That's what mushrooms
decomposition
do. It's amazing.
It's like you can kind of track it. You can kind of track it as like decomposition, and if we're going with those, regeneration, rebirth kind of thing. Yeah,
it's very cool. Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Also, I'm just like Krystle. One day, I'm very happy. About this project that Krystle wants to write about mushroom dragons, and it made me so fucking happy.
Mushroom dragons.
So
it's like two very cool things. Well, one thing I've always been interested in, dragons, and then mushrooms, which I'm newly interested in because I talk to Adrian every day. That's
the whole point. That's the whole point. Is like, my hope is that people get infected with the curiosity spores of mushrooms, and they just go out on their own and they figure shit out. Baby. Colonize your brains, and you just go out there and research stuff yourself. And actually, I had someone today message me, which was really great. They commented, they were like, I don't like mushrooms. Well, I like this book. And I'm like, ooh, yes, let's go. Let's do this. Because there was someone who
you will identify with Henrietta Hoffman in the beginning.
No, but that's the thing. I told him, I was like, the main POV is mycophobic. You might have a really strong relation to that. So like, let's see where it goes. And he was like really intrigued, and hopefully he picks up the book and he's not like horrified by the body horror stuff.
It will be. I say I don't even dislike mushrooms, and there was parts where I was horrified by the body horror, but that's why they call it body horror. You're supposed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, the body horror was really good.
So I will probably ruin like certain words for people, like writhing and slithering, which are already horrible words to begin with. But
what about fruiting?
Fruiting bodies. MJ's favorite combo. All about them fruiting bodies. I actually did a count. Like I just basically searched up like how many instances of fruiting bodies are in the entire book, and it's 47 times that I used that
combination. So like once every
every chapter, at least at least once a chapter it comes up. So yeah, you're welcome, MJ. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. I love that for me.
If anyone in the live chat has any questions, just like toss them in there. We'll get to them. Oh, here's Cliff.
I think we got one already.
Speaking of mushrooms and body horror, did any of y'all ever see the Japanese movie Matango, which was released in the US as Attack of the Mushroom People? No, but I need to search this up now.
That sounds like a Japanese movie.
Right? I would say mushroom
Attack
people
on Mushroom
and it's
People.
Japanese.
Mushroom
That does
kaiju.
sound very much like your interests, Adrian.
Oh my God, this looks so awesome. Holy shit. Because this is from 1963.
Oh,
And-
wow.
Oh wow.
Oh my God, this looks amazing. I'm so down for this. It looks
We
like
know what
cheesy.
Adrian's doing this
Okay.
weekend.
You know, like
Watch
Like the-
party.
you know the versions
Right.
of, like the older versions of like the Swamp Thing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it looks like that in terms of like costuming and stuff like that, but I am fully on board for it. This looks fucking fantastic.
Love it.
Holy shit. Thank you, Cliff. You made my day. You made my
Like-
day, dude.
Best recommendation.
1960s, castaways on an island of psychedelic mushrooms. Eating them makes you stunned and then the
Sold.
transformation occurs.
That's
I
not
am-
wholly inaccurate to how it really works, though.
Yeah. It's all about transformation. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Like,
just internal.
yeah, like it's so crazy how this book was like, the book is about transformation, even though it's like a police procedural murder mystery, but even writing it, like the act of writing a book is such a transformation. And I
You-
Yeah.
can't even like
Yeah.
believe how much. Go ahead,
I
Ronnie.
said yeah with
You
a
could write a
PTSD
book
accent.
structured to how a mushroom trip actually goes. Now that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it, just like crafting it out. But before inciting incident, having the appeal of the hook, and you can structure it, because the last aspect of a god dose is ego death, which I talked about privately to you, is also what Carl Jung called the psychic death, and it's what leads to later when Joseph Campbell created the hero's journey. He did it off of Jungian psychology, and how there's certain beats that heroes or people go through psychologically to evolve, and the ego death is, or the psycho death is, like your old self dying and coming to a new fruition. So,
And that's critical for the hero's journey too.
exactly,
That is actually like the key, the linchpin of the whole hero's journey.
but
is
that's also a
that.
magic mushroom
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah.
So theoretically, you could take other aspects of what you go through before, during, and after a magic mushroom trip, and you
Can
can
I-
quite literally write a book that way. to
Ronnie,
those structural points.
I won't spoil anything, but the final act of the book is structured.
I was
Oh,
going to
oh,
say,
I
this
figured
is
that, 'cause we
sounding
talked.
so
Yeah.
familiar.
So
I did figure that because we talked, but it just came in my head. I'm like, what if you literally from the point went take every beat of that trip and wrote like
that would be
probably
amazing.
Novella would be a little bit more tighter, but you could get away with doing that. And
Yeah.
you could do here's a magic mushroom novella, actually going through those phases, and you could do.
Can we do that together, Ronnie? Can we co-write that?
Yeah, we could. Well, you talking
Okay.
about the novella,
Cool.
right? Not a magic mushroom trip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan,
Or both,
Ronnie-
probably.
Ronnie could talk about a speck of dust on the beak of a dead rat, and Ronnie would be like, "Fun fact, blows your mind." It's totally true, though.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love it when people are like so passionate about things that.
I'm just a literary craft tour, so yeah, I
Yeah.
can find something to
Yeah.
connect everything back to how to
Yeah.
write.
But that's
I'll
the thing I
stop.
realized while I was doing the whole book tour.
Oh,
It was-
yeah.
I was so used to like me being the person that was like, here are the questions to kind of like draw things out of other people. And it was really jarring for me to be in the opposite seat and for people to be asking me the questions and trying to draw stuff out of me. And for me to be like, fuck, I haven't talked about this stuff at length to like anyone except like Ronnie and like my wife and like very few people.
What's worse is sometimes someone will hit you with a question where you're like, oh, I didn't think about that, and actually I'm really uncomfortable with the answer. That's too revealing. You
I
did
didn't-
that to me a
I'm
couple
sorry.
of times on our
You did that to me.
I'm hitting the hard. I'm just like with the
Yeah,
hard
this
hitting
was-
questions,
this was-
Krystle.
This was in the pre-MJ times. You had me on
Just
yeah,
as like a
before
one-on-one
West.
interview. Was a
Yeah,
one-on-one
and
interview, right?
you
Yeah.
you made me cry like 4 times on that stupid interview.
Oh my
So like it's
Oh my God.
it's my slow building revenge now. Like we started with the blushing, and then eventually
Okay.
I'll have you in a situation where
Yeah, but then
You're
but
like,
then
I
I
will
hit
question.
I hit you back with
oh,
with
no.
the ending of my book. It made you cry at a coffee shop. So it's
Ye-
tit for
well,
tat.
that's different.
Crystal.
That's different. I mean, that's
No,
like,
that's
that's part of the
just
contract
him
of being
making
a
her.
reader.
You're just making
like,
her cry
'cause it's
again,
not-
Adrian.
It's me.
That's
It's me.
not tit.
Me, tit for tit. No tats up in here. There are no tats.
Here.
No tats to be found.
No tats. All
But
tits.
Krystle, I think it's really,
Our new
I mean, yeah,
t-shirt
of course, it's like there are things that you put into a book that other people will interpret in their own particular way, and you're not necessarily going to realize like, oh shit, someone could have interpreted that way.
Well, and also like I think there's like a subconscious catharsis that's going on between you and your novel, and you don't see it. It's like a little bit of a blind spot. It's like I put my trauma in that box and I'm not looking at it, and then somebody sees it and says, "Hey, how about the trauma box?" And you're like, "Oh fuck." Yeah,
because you put it in your book. It's out there. It's out there.
That's a trauma box. Leave it alone,
right? Because it is. It's like it's a fictionalized version of yourself.
Nicholas, you do not know, but the guys at the Friends Talking Fantasy podcast dubbed me the bad boy of SFF. So there's love. There is so much love, but there is also vindictive. It's just
so much darkness.
Just a vindictive lover. No.
The toxic love is like the stuff that keeps you coming back, though. That's why you're so popular.
Man. That's what MJ. That's what we talked to Chloe Gong about, making that toxic relationship really catchy.
That's true. We did on the romance episode.
But Krystle, it's so crazy. Like the stuff that Ronnie's asking about in terms of like the history and of psychedelics and stuff like that. The first interview I did was with Our Pod on Wednesdays We Read. Shout out to Hannah and Laura because they're amazing. But good. There were times where they asked me questions and then I started like talking and then I realized like, oh my God, I'm like so passionate about this. There's just like so much knowledge. And I just fucking started going off about like what Ronnie was mentioning, what Ronnie was talking about in terms of like the sort of cross-pollination of psychedelic brews and the ways in which that interacted with different religions over the course of history. And it was like bringing up like the cult of Dionysus in Greece and the ways in which they would mix wine with certain psychedelics in order to have these like visions where they could connect with their gods. Or in the Bible there's a scene, who is it that is on a hill, but it's I think it's Moses when he's on Mount Sinai and there's like a bush that's burning. The burning bush as like the symbology for like a lot of what we're talking about, the transformation, and how that particular bush, there's a theory that particular bush is one that exists in Israel, or not in Israel, but in like the Sinai Peninsula, that has psychedelic compounds in it. And if it burns, those psychedelic compounds are released into the air. And so it's kind of like all these different things. And I was fucking nerding out like crazy. And Hannah and Laura were like loving it. But I realized I was going off so much that I started to get like kind of nervous and like choked up and getting really emotional and stuff. I was like, nobody asks me about these things, and now I have a chance to talk about them. So it's really, it was crazy, but it was beautiful. But I appreciate that interviewing is an art, but also being an interviewee is sort of like skill in and of itself. And I got used to it like after a few recordings.
There's like a willingness to be vulnerable that I think takes you by surprise. It took me by surprise in that run. But I think that that vulnerability is inherent to us because we had to do it to finish our books. Like we had to get down and get real with ourselves a bit, especially a book that was so hard, like on a deadline the way this was. You learn a lot about yourself when you're struggling through something like publishing. And like my son got sick so many times during the writing of this book. And just this week, he's got like
right at the finish line here.
God, my God, dude. But it's like just this past week, he got, it's not like chicken pox, but it's one of those viruses that gives you like a body rash. And so he's got rash all over his body, and he's kind of like, dealing with fevers and stuff. And so I'm like, I've had a hell of a fucking time towards the finish line, but I got there, and it's like that's what I love about indie.
I'm gonna die, or maybe both.
Yeah, no, but that
if
was
you made
that
this
was
book launch, you can finish anything ever
Yeah.
because you had like
Yeah.
just like the perfect storm of stuff come up.
Yeah, it's like, oh
my
hey,
God,
the
this
country
poor
that you
man.
live in is like in like a
Yeah.
war with gangs. Like the presidential candidate got assassinated on TV. Like like so much shit happening in Ecuador, and then so much shit
Schools are
happening.
closing down, and now
Yeah.
the kids are home
Oh,
all
I had
the
to
time.
I had to do virtual classes with my older son, and he's in like preschool. So I'm like, what is the point of
He's a
this shit?
tiny bean.
But he wanted to do it. The only reason I did it is because he wanted to do it. He's like,
Well, that is
I want to, but then I had to go through Microsoft Teams like 4 calls a day, and that is the worst fucking application for
that must sting extra
video
when you know it's
conferencing.
good.
God, I'm just like, Microsoft Teams is the bane of my existence. And it's like, how about you do this like 4 times a day? And I was like, fuck that. Like, I got stuff to do. But then my son's like, I want to see my friends. And like less and less of them are showing up every day. And I'm like, God damn it. But yeah, like this book, very much like Henrietta and my psychedelic experiences, broke me down and helped me understand what I'm capable of as a writer. And Krystle, I was talking to you about this. It was like, I needed to set the challenge for myself, because if I didn't do that, it would take me so much longer to A, finish it, and B, build up enough confidence to be like, this is worthy of being released. And so to set that challenge for myself that was the thing that was always in the back of my mind that said like, here is your end goal. You can do this. Buckle the fuck up and figure it out.
You're a deadline guy like me.
Well, and I wonder too if like having the deadline be such like a squeaker, right? Like right at the end was almost like advantageous mentally because you didn't have that, like, you know what I mean? Like standing at the diving board, being scared to dive off.
Right.
You just fucking ran off the end of that bitch.
No, like, I ran off the end and did like a flip.
I remember when we were talking about it. Like, I remember when we were talking about the schedule, I was like, babe, add a bit more time. And you were like, yeah, okay, you're right. I will add a bit more time. And you did. Right. And then it was like,
you added more time.
Went wrong after. And it was just like, because I remember you were talking about like, at first you were going to release in February, I think, like, or something. And I was just like parent to parent, like, just trust me, just give yourself a little
push it back a little bit more. And then I did like the staggered release, because that's something I love. Like, I love indie for the flexibility that it offers, but I also really appreciate people who read indie fiction because they're very forgiving and very patient. Like, nobody's going to go up to an indie author and be like, hey, where the fuck's your book? You know, like it's George R. R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss or whoever the fuck. Like, nobody's going to be like, hey, you haven't released a book in 6 months, because that's like more akin to like indie timelines, or like a year. It's been a year since your last book.
I have been doing that, but not meanly, I will say, for my indie urban fantasy series, because it's been 6 years since one of my releases.
But you did release 3 books, and that is kind of like each one is sort of like a self-contained thing. So it's not like,
I need to get back to it. It's just when that series I was writing before is when Tremaine took off, and then life and stuff we shared privately, and publishing industry stuff, and I'm getting back to that universe. So, but like, again, at least people were nice about it. But I have gotten that. But I think after 6 years for that series, it's kind of fair. But again,
but I told you, Ronnie, like the best way to do it would be to like kind of reintroduce the first 3 books. You could even do like an omnibus, like ebook collection or something like that. Yeah, and then reintroduce it, and then pick it up with book 4. Yeah, exactly. So, but like indie is super flexible in that sense. I really love like
I think because we're in control, we're also able to actually answer the questions.
Yes.
Like,
because that's the thing. MJ tells me, she's like, I've been waiting for like 2 weeks on an email, and I'm like, that makes my brain hurt. Like, I hate that.
2 weeks, honey. It's usually fun.
Yeah. There you go. Like, even worse. I'm
like, it's in the publisher's hands. Like, I don't control it.
If you even know, a lot of times you're not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing. Yeah.
Whereas we get to be like, I moved this year. So it
you
kind
can
of
just be candid because the readers are human and so are you, and they understand. I love that.
And you actually know you actually know what's happening with your book because it's the ball's in our court the whole time. So it I think being able to talk more frankly about the process helps a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, because it's like I keep likening indie publishing, self-publishing to punk, and it's like not even specifically like punk music, but just like the punk ethos.
The ethos.
And for me that's super important because everything I've done up until now in my life has been punk without me even realizing it. It's like, oh, freelance music journalist during university, traveling to fucking New York and San Francisco and going to music festivals and like interviewing musicians. Like people tell me like I like this musician, or like my wife like puts a song on Spotify and I'm like, oh yeah, I interviewed them like blah 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 back in whatever particular instance. Or like tattooing for me was like the most punk thing I've ever done. Where I started tattooing out of a fucking apartment, like did my first tattoo on the kitchen table of like my Polish friend. We were drinking beer and smoking weed and tattooing ourselves.
That's a lot of trust. You're just yourself? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, the little tree.
Okay.
That little tree is the first one I ever tattooed on myself. So yeah. Now that was like tipsy and high at a Polish guy's kitchen table. So
can I bring up something you maybe just realize, or not just realize, but think about? With the punk scene connecting it to indie, if you look at where publishing has gone, both to now indies being accepted by indie publishing happening in the digitization of books, it's almost nearly a perfect 15-year delay behind the music industry, which is something I've been like collecting, and I've been like continuing battering around the theories, but every time or every year it continues to be more and more true because the iPod and MP3s were about 2000. iPod was like a few years later, so we had the first digital distribution network for that, and then we had SoundCloud rappers start happening and small indie artists, and then indie labels coming out of me. And then around 2012, 2013, indie publishing started becoming viable because we had Amanda Hawking and a few others like doing it, and they were like the first millionaires in the gold rush, Hugh Howey. And then about 2015, 2016 is when indie publishing really started kicking off. People started really just going there first. So it's about 15 years after 2000.
And that's when traditional publishers started to poach more indie authors as well.
That's when they started. Yeah. And then we started seeing indie publishing houses. It started with like some of the earlier niche brands like Mill Sci-Fi, which was really big then, Military Sci-Fi, Lit RPG, which started some small
Progression Fantasy.
And then now we're at a point where we have larger indie publishers like Wraithmark and stuff, and then the Kickstarter's blowing off, which is exactly correlative to indie music labels that can now sort of do special albums. They're able to now get their own indie musicians out onto concert tours and stuff like that. And I think we're seeing the exact same scaling happening with this, which means this is only going to get bigger and bigger for indie.
Is actual vinyl as well.
Yeah. No, but like there's sort of like an analog kind of love, like even with the soundtrack that my friends had done for Martian Blues, they're releasing it as like limited edition cassettes, which is really cool for the story because it's like Henrietta is like a cassette. She has a collection of cassettes that she inherited from her father, and she listens to this like Pilch rock, which is sort of it's like a take on the titles are like references to all my friends.
They're all like little Easter eggs. I kept texting Adrian like
but the crazy thing is like now we're starting to see indie genres that kind of kick off in indie and then are more popularized, like cozy fantasy. Lit RPG hasn't translated yet. Romantasy I think has existed kind of in both spaces, but now it's like it's like the fucking but like Romantasy is like the Adele of the publishing world. Like it's fucking taking off, and now everyone wants a piece of it. But then that kind of saturates the market and makes it less valuable.
What happens with trends, unfortunately. Because traditionally, God, I gotta stop being such a whore on this stuff. But with literature history, that's what happened to vampires and then urban fantasy for a while.
Exactly.
It's because urban fantasy used to be niche. Like there was actually authors back in the 80s like Charles DeLint and others who were kind of doing it like is very boutique contemporary fantasy, and it wasn't a thing. And then the 90s happened, and one of the seminal pieces was Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1999, 2000, Jim Butcher came out with the Dresden Files. And after that started picking up, because Buffy just came out at that time and blew
Buffy is like
spotlight.
That was like the what The Last of Us is doing for mushrooms, Buffy did for vampires and like monsters.
and urban fantasy. And then after that point, if you look at the mid 2000s, everybody was so much urban fantasy coming out a few years after Butcher because of Buffy's spotlight. And then around 2012, a lot of them started fading out. Most of those series were getting wrapped up. I think Kevin Hearns ended around there. Sandman Slim ended like a few years after that with Richard Kadri. And the genre kind of got burned out because indie fantasy blew up after that. Because urban fantasy had sort of died traditionally, minus a few megastar names.
Mm-hmm.
About 2015, 2016, there was a boom for it that lasted a few years until Lit RPG came along. And it's because it got oversaturated, which is unfortunate because the history of traditional has been doing that to every micro niche genre that happens. They'll buy up a lot of it. For people who follow this and are interested in the traditional path and follow you guys, look at Twitter, you'll probably see some points of publisher marketplace statements of what genres bought for how much money, whatever. And Romantasy has been going through that. And unfortunately, as a result of the saturation of what's going to probably happen there, a lot of other genres are getting hit right now. There have been public statements where like particularly epic fantasy is no longer being bought and supported, which means it's probably going to move more towards indie for a little while. We're already seeing that's viable.
Mahir, hello buddy, how are you? He said like I can't wait for epic fantasy to make a comeback, and I think it will make a comeback and is in indie.
Yeah, it's
in indie for sure. But in trad it's in a bit of a
it's like if you're not,
like it's not dead, but it's a little bit of a lag.
But it's like if you're not Sanderson, then publishers aren't necessarily like looking for it as much.
But that has a lot to do with the size of the books too.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That like publishers are like that's something that I saw where
I could comment on that.
Yeah, Ronnie's got a lot.
We're capping a lot lower than we used to. Like unless you're guaranteed, and then even if you're guaranteed, sometimes there's some pushback on book sizes in a way that we hadn't. I don't know.
But literally, it's like printing costs become a problem because it's like, can the binding sustain this fucking beast of a book? You know, like they could make like MJ and I were talking about paper quality last night, and it's like some books have they have that really flimsy paper. That's because like the binding cannot sustain that quantity of pages over that.
Yeah, well, that's the big difference between an Ingram paperback and an Amazon paperback. KDP. I was showing you like Brick and Bone is 100 pages different between the two of them because the Amazon paper is so much thicker. So their cap is like 700 something pages, but
whereas Ingram is like 1,200.
1,000.
Is it 1,000?
1,050.
Yeah. Because I think
can
Ryan
go up higher for the white, like the pure white, but I don't like the pure white. You
got to get that groundwood. You got to get that groundwood.
I the cream. Yeah, so that one's a little bit heavier, so it caps at 10. But anyway, we can still do it. Like those of us in India are proving that it's still possible.
Yeah.
But
finger crossed for Tales of Tremaine. Hell yeah. And if anyone wants to pre-order The Doors of Midnight, go hit it up on Amazon.
That gorgeous cover.
You can't plug my pre-order during your book launch, dude. Come on.
Why not? People can go out right now.
He's like, I make my own rules.
Yeah, you can go now. You can buy Mushroom Blues and ebook, or you can pick it up on Friday in paperback, and then you can go pre-order Ronnie's Chonky Boy. And it's coming out in August.
Gorgeous cover.
Yeah, fucking beautiful. Oh, I love it, man. I love that cover so much. Yeah, this is my live stream, Ronnie. I can do what I want.
Yeah, it's his party, Ronnie.
Don't spoil it. I'll cry if I want to. Come on, man. A throwback for anyone out there who loves 80s music.
I was gonna say,
or old enough to remember.
There are 153 people watching right now, so I hope one of you knows that song. We'll see. Okay, well, I think there we go, MJ. I think we'll start winding down. Does anyone have any other questions in the chat, or do you three have anything else that you wanted to ask? This is
I
a ton
just
of
wanted
fun.
to share. I don't know if you saw. You're up to 31 in the Amazon rankings for crime and sci-fi.
Get me. Okay, I looked at the
Orange
rankings.
banner.
So this is crime and mystery science
Crime and
fiction.
mystery science
but the
fiction,
top
yeah.
like 8 spots are Martha Wells' Murderbot Diaries. So push me past that shit, people. Push me past.
Right, there you go. Above Murderbot. But even if you get 9, you still get the banner, right?
Even if I get to the
number
top 10,
right?
I don't know. Does anyone know what that is? Is it the top one? Is the top like
it's
one
top
spot?
one in each category? Yeah.
Top one. Okay.
Not top 10.
Then, yeah, gotta.
So many niches.
Like
you'll get there by the end of the night, man. Or
Yeah. No, but I'm also I was at like number 80 or something in Cyberpunk, so I might be able to in that one. We'll see.
Yeah, you're at 62 in Cyberpunk now.
62. There
going up. It's going up. It's going up.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What are you overall to be 62 and MJ? What's his rank overall?
Overall in the Kindle store?
Yeah, because I feel like he should be higher, and we gotta work on his categories.
18,801 in the Kindle store, which like there's a lot of
girl. You gotta work on your categories. Like you're obviously in stuff that's super competitive, and you need to find one that's a little bit less competitive to get a number 1.
Fungalpunk, make your category.
No, I can't make one. I chose the ones that are like most specific. It's like crime and mystery, yes. Cyberpunk, yes. Dystopia, yes.
This is your happy day, dude. Don't worry about the ranks so much. I promise you, over time, like there's a lot of ways to make it. This is an actual anecdote I got from Tor about Wheel of Time, which is arguably one of the most successful series of all time because it sold before having a TV show 80 million copies. Which I don't want to phrase this right because I don't want to make it sound competitive. It's not, and I'm a fan of both series. But Game of Thrones hit that after the TV show. It hit about 80. Wheel of Time did that without him again. But Wheel of Time's strength was never blowing up. When originally the series launched, it was a very steady rock star seller. Like it just didn't drop. My whole editor told me that Tor at some points was really just coasting off of during hard points in publishing, and this was about when comics was also crashing, like late 90s, 2000s. Like the Wheel of Time sustained Tor, and its biggest strength was that thing just would not dip. So don't worry too much about day one.
Long-term sustainability.
Yeah. Right. About the long game.
It's a marathon, like in a way that's hard to articulate when you're just starting out, because it's like you say like, I know, but you don't know until you're like.
But that's pretty much every stage. It's like you don't. Okay, this is something I experienced during this whole process. Like Ryan Cahill and Rob J. Hayes gave me like mini master classes over Zoom to give me like really boil down essentials, even though Ryan and I would go off on tangents all the time, but
that doesn't surprise me in the
really like essentials. Essentials of self-publishing. And even then there were things that I had to experience myself through trial by fire in order to realize like never again. There's like I learned my fucking lesson about this, but I had to experience it myself in order to get it through my fucking head. That's how that works.
For all that we're writers and words are our business, there are some things that no matter how many times I try, no matter how hard I try, I cannot articulate it to people who are younger in their journey than I am. And I try to tell them, this is what you're going to go through and it's going to be okay and you're going to be fine, I promise. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. And then they get through it and they're like dying a little inside. And it's like, remember I told you?
Yeah.
I told you.
But it's like a parent. It's like a parent with kids. It's like parent with kids. And you have to let them experience it in order. Like with my son, it's like he does these things.
Also, like parent to parent, like there are things I know are in your future having teenagers that like I can't convince you right now.
Right. But that's exactly it. It's like it's impossible for me to have that much foresight as a parent, even if I get the advice from other people. Yeah. And even like with my son, it's like, hey, you did that thing again. And you hurt yourself
I'm talking
again.
About you and
just
Jessica
at me next
time. I'm also talking about you if you're still here. Every time you whinge, I keep telling you, I told you
Poor
so.
Connor.
He tried to get me earlier. This is my revenge.
Yeah, but it's wild.
Yeah,
like, I'm just really excited to put out more books, knowing everything that I've learned from this one. And Nihir asked about sequels. Book 2 in the Hoffman.
You gotta ask, when's your next book?
Book 2 in the Hoffman Report is probably going to be next year. That's a 4-book series. But before that, I'm going to release Spore City,
You're gonna go back
which is
to
the start of
Spore
its
City.
own trilogy. So I'm going to do Mushroom Blues, Spore City, and then back and forth between the Hoffman Report and the Kanoko trilogy.
I think what you're going to find, and I say this with the most love, is that Spore City is going to surprise you with how hard it is still. Because it's
no, for sure.
Set. But also, I think as writers, our taste and our ability to perceive quality outpaces our skills to produce quality. And so having gone through Mushroom Blues, you have grown some incredible skills. And I'm so proud of that story for you, because what you managed to do is so emotional and so vulnerable and so loving, and you nailed it. And now you know you can do that, and so your standards are higher.
Right.
So you're going to go into drafting Spore City of like, I can do better, but you're actually not like your skill.
You'll be comparing your finish line to the beginning first draft, early draft.
Yeah, and it's gonna mess,
which will fuck
head.
you up a little bit. Yeah,
on that second one.
It'll be like going from like a glitzy 5-star or like whatever, like Michelin star restaurant to like a fucking hole in the wall with cockroaches scrolling across the
you gotta clean it up and make it again.
There's charm to it, Krystle. There's charm to it. That's all that matters.
There absolutely is. And like and the draft that you create with Spore City with these new skills is still going to be leaps and bounds better than the draft you would have created 2 or 3 years ago, having not gone through this experience. So you are progressing, but your perception of your skill is kind of like your expectations for what you can do is kind of going to outpace you a little bit, and you're going to convince yourself that you haven't gotten better, but you have. I guarantee you have.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to take a little break, and then I'm going to
please do. Please do.
Yes. Play some video games. Relax
for the first time in like however fucking long.
Go hang out with the other
with
people
my wife
that live in your house,
with the other humans that live with you.
My wife was just like, hey, you're back, welcome home.
She's like, who are you?
You've been overseas for so long.
When will my husband return from the sport?
She's like a wife like waiting on the shoreline waiting for her sailor husband to return home.
Grim's going through that again now.
Is that him on the horizon?
I'm dipping down into the obsession where I'm like working on weekends again, and he was like, oh well, it's nice to see you flourishing. Bye.
Yeah.
So bad.
Like, your hands are just like your hands are just grazing and then they drift apart.
Exactly. I'll be back like in about 6 months when I'm done. It'll be fine. He can feed himself.
He can feed himself. Yeah, that's his solace, is that he can feed himself. Oh my god. And this is why the people around us have to suffer with our madness
so much. Yeah. I'm sorry. I feel like
MJ, you always describe it as like madness, and like we're just
it is madness.
A little bit
but it's
like
a comfortable kind of madness.
It's like it's an obsession.
Delusion together.
Yes. Yeah.
But also like I know myself, and I remember who I was in long periods of not writing, and this is an improvement. This me is better. So as much as it's madness, me not writing is a fair little bitch. Like we're not friends with her.
That I'll be like, why am I like so cranky? Like, why am I so down? I'm like in such a slump right now. What the fuck is going on? And then I'll be like,
it's because I haven't written for like 2 days or something.
In a couple days. Or every time.
Yeah.
I think I'd learn.
No.
We're stubborn in our madness.
It's true.
But you have to be. I think the stubbornness is key too, because
that's the only reason. That's the only reason.
Book?
That's the only reason. Like you have the grit to sustain this.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's a combination of madness and stubbornness. We're a special breed of Great.
Hell yeah. We're like donkeys hopped up on psychedelics.
My grandfather says, like, in this family, it's not called stubbornness, it's just called determination.
There you
like,
go.
it's a family trait. So
there you go.
I like
there you
it.
go.
I'm using that one on my mom next time she calls me stubborn.
All right. Well, on that fantastic inspirational note, I think we'll wrap up
Psychedelic
here.
donkeys, baby.
Yeah, psychedelic donkeys
Donkeys?
and not stubbornness, determination. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes, the Hampton motto.
Oh, man.
You're all honorary Hamptons now.
Right on. We're all honorary possums.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. I'll just let everyone know. Yeah, MJ can show off the cover. I'll throw it up on the screen again. You can buy that now in ebook. You can pick it up on Friday, March 22nd, this Friday, in paperback, which looks like that, but without that little not for resale.
Yeah, without the not for resale. But otherwise, it will look just like this.
Otherwise, it'll look like that. It'll be very vibrant and blue, and it'll pop out on your bookshelf. And it has pages. That it does.
I really like how the photos
cool
turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like how those turned out.
That's just like my graphic designer and artist's sort of side coming out and making me very happy. Yeah. It's like I had to put that stuff in there. I had to put some
Also,
sort of
every copy comes with a free photo of this handsome man.
Aw.
With the mushroom,
Thanks.
with the fungi shirt.
With the shirt you're wearing.
I'm wearing
actually.
the shirt. That's why I wore it. That's why I wore this shirt.
It's the shroom shirt. Yeah. So there you go.
It's my shroomy shirt. Yeah, and you can get the hardcover that's coming out at the beginning of April. Audiobook, hopefully mid-April, but I'm probably going to push it back because I've been like recording so much and starting to lose my voice in some ways. So I need to like pace myself with that so I don't completely lose it. So you'll know at some point that an audiobook is coming, but it's coming sooner rather than later, as opposed to like, hey, it's going to be here in a year. Have fun.
Yeah.
It'll be here soon. And you can follow me.
Hat too.
Yeah. So I'm doing literally everything. I designed that book. Like Felix Ortiz gave me the cover artwork. I did the graphic design, the typography, the interior design, the formatting. I wrote the fucking book.
Just that little thing.
Yeah, like doing the audiobook, organized the whole book tour, pretty much everything. Yeah.
It looks so cool.
Yeah. MJ's my number one fan. Thank you. The only person in human existence that has a physical copy of this book.
So jealous.
I know, me
I
too.
have 3 of them, you guys. Get extra jealous.
3. Don't be petty, MJ. Don't be petty.
Oh, I'll be petty.
That shit. Oh man. All right, you can find me on all the platforms at Adrian M. Gibson. You can catch MJ and I every Tuesday on SFF Addicts, where we interview and do masterclasses with some fine writers. We have episodes with Ronnie. Krystle's been on a bunch in the past on panels and a one-on-one interview and all this kind of stuff.
Where I cry 4 times.
If you want to see Krystle cry 4 times, just hit me up. I'll send you the direct link. You can also check out my website, adrianmgibson.com. I have an online store. You can get some merch. You can get all kinds of cool stuff. And you can get the Mushroom Blues album, which is out today, as a very nice pairing. It's like a wine pairing, but with like kind of decompositional wine pairing, with a book and a soundtrack. And you merge them together and they accentuate each other. And it's beautiful. Krystle, what about you?
What about me?
Where you at? Where can people find you?
Mostly, I'm just being a menace on Twitter. My handle is just my name, cashing in on the unusual combination. I also on TikTok, same thing. Instagram, same thing. And I'm working on book 3 of the Tainted Dominion series, which is coming when I fucking am ready this time instead of trying to race. Yeah. And
MJ?
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, you can find me on all the socials at MJ Kuhn.
Oh.
Books. You can find me every other Tuesday.
Yeah, Krystle didn't do that.
No, I was gonna say, I also have a podcast.
with Mike Fletcher.
Plug Dripping Bucket.
Should probably plug that.
Yeah. Michael Fletcher and I have a podcast talking about like we talk to everybody in the ecosystem, not just writers. So far we've talked to Mahir as a blogger. I'm hoping to get a couple audiobook narrators on at some point. Maybe some booksellers. I'd love to talk to the folks at Back of Phoenix specifically because they were so much fun.
They were so cool.
Yeah, they were really cool. So that's at Dripping Bucket. Yeah, now I'm done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Krystle, if you wanna talk to JT Greathouse as well. He works at a bookstore, but he's also an author, so you could get both perspectives from him.
Oh, that would be really cool. Yeah, that would be really cool. Thank you.
Yeah. MJ.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Find me every Tuesday at SFF Addicts and SFF Addicts Pod on all the socials. And also get Adrian's book. You've been watching this live stream the whole time. If you haven't done that yet, what are you doing? Buy yourself a copy, buy your friends a copy, go to your local library, ask them to order this so that people in your community can read the book. And we love to support libraries. So do all those things. Okay, thanks. Bye.
MJ, you went like a little bit. You went like a little bit. Yeah, buy Among Thieves. And wait.
Oh, also do that.
Get the blue, baby, and get the green, baby.
Yeah, and we're all blue on our first one. Oh no, Ronnie's blue on the second one, but we can do a blue photo at some point with the four of us.
We could a blue stack.
Aww.
Yeah,
I love blue. It's a good color, man.
It is a good color.
But yeah, go support MJ. Get Among Thieves. Get Thick Ass Thieves. Go review that on all the places. MJ, you went like a little bit like. Go get yourself a copy. Go get your friends a copy. You and get everybody in your fucking life a copy.
I did a whole new. I'm developing an accent. It's my like hipster voice.
I love it. You're gonna start wearing trench coats and hawking my books out of your fucking list.
Yeah.
You're like that. Like the. I don't know if anyone's played Resident Evil 4, but it's like, what are you buying? You're gonna start. You can sell psychedelics and my book all in
and
one.
We'll get like little stickers too.
Yeah. Ronnie, Ryan just said the shrooms just hit you. Tell us where people can find you.
Right. I'm mostly available on Twitter. Same as my pen name, Virdi. Facebook, exact same thing. I'm on Blue Sky, but I don't know how that platform's doing. And Instagram, I'm already where I'm learning to become more socially there. I'm not really good with social media. Twitter is like mostly me either shit posting or then like you'll get like a 30-page mythology dump from me like on there.
I live for those. I live for those.
Also, Ronnie posts motivational stuff not every once in a while, pretty much like on the daily.
Like every day.
It's very helpful. And people recognize him for that. Even like the moms of authors are like, is Ronnie the guy who just like posts inspirational stuff?
Really? I did not know.
No, you told me that. You told me that their mom recognized you because you're the one who posts inspirational stuff.
I forgot somebody did tell me that too. Shit, I'm trying to remember who.
I'm trying to remember as well. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, my life is weird.
Yeah,
I'm weird. There we go. Yeah,
we're all weird. Media. I feel like the four of us are very weird people, which is why I was very happy.
Glad we get along, man.
Have you all here. Ryan, was that you? Ryan, was that your mom? Was your mom the one who was like Ronnie with his inspirational shit?
Legitimately, he said.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that was Ryan. There we go.
Now that makes sense because she's on social media and every now.
Maybe you told me that in person because we hung out like at Dragon Con a couple times and it was super nice. He and I had good times.
His ma'am.
I love her.
I can read your accent.
But if it's Ryan's ma'am, then it's like she's definitely dropping some F-bombs in there because she's the best.
Yeah. She regularly calls Ryan Head, and it's just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I just feel so understood by her.
Oh hell yeah! This is like the new MILF. Moms love the smolder. I love.
Oh that. No!
Moms
that's growing wilder and wilder.
Oh hell yeah! Go support Ronnie. Go buy his books. The first binding. Go pick up the Grave Report series. Go support him on OnlyFans. Whatever you got to do to support this beautiful human being.
Don't stop that now. Oh. I've had people trying to make me actually do one. Oh god.
Oh my god. It's going to be a ribbon at
In
Dragon
blue?
Con. Moms for
There
Ronnie.
you go. Moms for Ronnie.
There are already ribbons, just not for that at Dragon Con for people who know.
Isn't
Just not
what
that.
weren't they ribbons that just said like I met Ronnie Virdi or something like that?
Yeah, there's the whole thing of I know R.R. Virdi, and like then Kevin J. Anderson and Jim Butcher got in on it, and they've got it, and that only made it get big.
Hope. We
Did
lost
Ronnie
him.
freeze?
Oh,
Did
we
he
lost
freeze?
Ronnie.
Ronnie
But-
froze.
Did the storm just get so upset about
knocked him out.
Moms Love Ronnie and it just broke the system? Oh my god. Ryan, how about we get them made for Worldcon? We're gonna go to Glasgow. We're gonna get
ribbons.
Moms for Ronnie ribbons. Hell yeah.
Moms for
Yeah.
Ronnie.
Or
Moms for
stickers or
Ronnie.
something.
That sounds like the best like charity organization ever. Moms for Ronnie.
You're like, what is this?
All right, well, Ronnie froze. We love you. Hold up his book, Krystle. My copy's
I got
across
his
the
book.
room.
Yeah.
First binding.
So
Go pick it up.
The first, and then the second one's coming out with a blue cover, so he fits in with us, and that's the only reason they made it blue.
Yeah, we're all here because
yeah,
we're blue.
Ryan gets it.
Yeah, charity.
Blue,
There we go. All right, we got the 80s, we got the 90s with Eiffel 65. We got this
Right?
shit. I love it.
We're getting it.
Thanks, MJ. I appreciate it. All right, well, thank you everyone for watching. All like 180 of you. I'm just like amazed that there's so many people here watching this, but thank you for watching. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for Krystle and MJ and Ronnie for your friendship and for hanging out with me and all your support and helping this book become a reality. I really appreciate it. And Ronnie's back. Ronnie's back. You're back, buddy. Yeah, moms for Ronnie broke your computer. But that, shit happens. Ryan said that your sexual energy got too powerful and
oh god,
crashed
that's spreading now too. Oh no.
Oh my god. Ronnie the Stallion. Go to Ronnie's grind school. It's popping off.
At least I got a backup career, I guess.
That's true.
There you
That's
go.
true.
Everybody needs a backup plan.
There you go.
Yeah,
All
if ever the payments take too long to come in from Trad, then there you go.
Yeah.
You can still
fall back on
I wanted to say that for people in the States, at least, there will be a special pre-order for book store in DC that Loyalty Books will be letting me sign any copy that anyone pre-orders from them to help out small local indie bookstore chains. And they carry indie authors too.
That's so cool.
Way to give back and support bookstores that actually care about, environment and other authors.
Hell yeah, man.
That's awesome.
I love that. All right. Well, Ronnie smoldered out the internet and he's just being a beautiful, humble human being. But I love you guys. And thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to everyone who has supported Mushroom Blues.
Congratulations, Adrian.
Thank you.
Happy Book Launch Day. Happy Mushroom
really
Blues Day.
it. Mushroom Blues, baby. Enter the fucking Fungalverse. Thank you all so much. And we'll catch you later.